What's up everybody, welcome back. So we finally made it to Legend in the Go Battle League, and I know it's the last week of Season 11, but better late than ever I guess. And I'm pretty sure most of you watching might have hit Legend by now, but just in case you haven't and you're looking to make that last second push, here's a team comp I would highly recommend for you. It's basically a Swampert double ice team with Swampert on the lead, with Froslass and Walrein in the back. Now I did feature this team in one of my previous videos over a month ago, and I mentioned in that video as well that this team definitely has the potential to go all the way up to Legend. Now I made it from 1900s to 2500 in my previous video. I'll link that in the description below, but obviously this team definitely has a lot of potential to sweep a lot of lines, right? It's definitely got some solid coverage against majority of the top threats that you're likely to run into. And one of the biggest advantages with this team is that it completely takes Shadow Nidoqueen out of the equation. Obviously Shadow Nidoqueen being one of the staple picks, especially in a lot of team comps in this higher elo, you're going to catch a lot of those team comps off guard. There are Pokemon like Sirfetch'd, Lickitung, probably Trevenant and Shadow Victreebel to a lesser extent, which can give this team a little bit of an issue, but it definitely can be dealt with in a lot of specific situations, right? Again, there's some really fun battles in here. We climbed all the way up from the 2500s to the Legend with this team, and yeah, there's some fun battles in here, and let's get straight into it. So moving on to the first battle here, we have Swampert into a Trevenant here. So pretty bad lead right off the bat here. I'm going to immediately switch in my Walrein. I typically safe switch Walrein in most of the situations, and this time they actually end up bringing their Shadow Swampert, which is definitely not a counter to a Walrein by any stretch of imagination. Although I do have to watch out for Earthquake because that would near one shot, especially coming from a Shadow Swampert. Unfortunately, they do bait me with the Hydro Cannon, which is fine. I'm going to go fire off the Icicle Spear right away because I'm expecting them to shield this because they want to get off an Earthquake, right? They definitely want to win switch advantage so that they can line up my Swampert against their Trevenant, but I'm going to shield this up, probably an Earthquake here, and now I can look to commit to the complete farm down, right? It's not ideal going down two shields, especially when there's a Trevenant in the back, because Trevenant definitely has that one-shot potential against both Froslass and Swampert. I go for the Icicle Spear here. Icicle Spear actually gets the shield. I overfarm by one and throw to make sure they don't catch, but they still end up catching on their Walrein, which is very unfortunate for me. So I'm actually going to build up all the way up to an Earthquake, and I'm going to look to catch the Earthquake on my Swampert. At this point, I don't see too much value with my Swampert, especially because there's a Trevenant in the back. I might as well just sack it here. They go for the Icicle Spear. Unfortunately, they hold on to their energy, and they're able to get to another Icicle Spear as well. This is very bad for me, but we survive with literally 1 HP, and I'm able to get to this Hydro Cannon. This is very crucial because this puts this Walrein into Earthquake range, which is really nice. But I'm actually going to come in with my Froslass here and look to start getting ahead on energy and Froslass as well. And they're going to get off an Earthquake, which is fine. This is going to do quite a bit of neutral damage in this matchup, but then again, it's not that big of a deal because again, we can tank it, but unfortunately I end up overfarming just a little bit too much, and we survive the Icicle Spear once again with literally 1 HP, and they decide to snipe with Trevenant, but Trevenant is just going to eat a Shadow Ball to the face, and now I can just switch into my Walrein and go for the Earthquake here, and Earthquake will be taking out their Walrein. So very, very close battle, honestly. I mean, could have gone either way, but obviously the fact that both Swampert and Froslass survived with 1 HP to get off those moves came in super clutch there. Moving on to the next one here, we have Swampert into a Cresselia. Cresselia is another little bit of a core breaker for this team. I mean, we are ABA weak to Cresselia, with Froslass being my only hard counter to a Cresselia. The Walrein obviously doesn't have a great matchup as well, but definitely a better matchup than Swampert has because we can at least tank one Grass Knot here, which is why I decided to catch that on the Walrein. They make a switch into their G-Fisk. I do want to win switch advantage here, so I'm actually going to shield this Rock Slide, which is not ideal, but I'm going to overfarm and pretend as if I'm going to bait, and I'm going to go straight for the Earthquake. Hopefully they think it's a bait, but unfortunately they do shield that, which is unfortunate. I mean, I'm not going to be able to get to another Earthquake here, so I'm just going to fire off the Icicle Spear just to do some chip damage, which they obviously don't shield, and I'm not going to be able to get to the next Icicle Spear. They do decide to throw the Rock Slide, which is completely fine by me. We do let that go through, and now I'm going to come in with my Swampert and farm up just as much as I can, and then fire off the Hydro Cannon here. Hydro Cannon will be taking out the Galarian Stunfisk, and back in comes Cresselia. I immediately switch in my Froslass, and they have a Diggersby in the back. Now, Diggersby is another Pokemon you absolutely love to see because all three of these Pokemon do pretty well against Diggersby. I mean, Froslass has kind of an iffy matchup against it, especially because Fire Punch is going to do super effective damage in this matchup. But I can let one of these go through, especially because it doesn't have Stab coming from a Diggersby. And I'm actually going to shield this and look to commit to the complete farm down here, right? So I decide to put up the shield last second, and I'm going to look to completely farm down here. And if the Cresselia comes back in, I'm just going to go for the Shadow Ball right away. I'm only going to get off one move because Cresselia is going to be able to get to a move here, and ends up being a CMP tie, which is like the best case scenario for me because this is beautiful because at this point I can just come in with my Swampert and hopefully I should be able to outpace this Cresselia to 2 Hydro Cannons, right? They're probably still a couple of Psychic Cuts away from the Grass Knot, and I'm able to get to the second Hydro Cannon as well, and Hydro Cannon will be taking out the Cresselia, and that's going to take the win for us there. So 2 bad leads in the first 2 battles, and we were still able to pull it out. And yeah, moving on to the next one here, we have Swampert into an Alolan Ninetales. which is, again, this team doesn't have a hard counter to a Charmer, so I'm actually going to stay in here. There are multiple ways to place this, but typically what I like to do is I like to catch the Weather Ball on Walrein here. Walrein does double resist the Weather Ball because of the Ice Water typing. And at this point, I'm going to overfarm by 1 and throw the Earthquake just to make sure they don't catch. And Earthquake is going to do quite a bit of damage against this Alolan Ninetales here. They actually do let that go through, which is really nice for me. I'd rather let them go, see them let that go through, because again, Charm is going to do so much damage against both Froslass and Swampert as well, right? Now, this is a perfect situation for Froslass to basically come in and go for a complete farm down here, because we're going to get so much energy. We have absolutely loaded energy on Swampert and also on Froslass, and both Froslass and Swampert have incredible closing potential here. So I'm able to fire off the Avalanche here. It does get the shield. Immediately switching to my Swampert right now, going for the Hydro Cannon here, and I'm going to overfarm by 1, throw the Hydro Cannon. They have their own Swampert in the back. This is expected. It's pretty one of those very common teams that you'd see. It is basically the Alolan Ninetales, a Sableye, and a ground type in the back. Typically it's a Diggersby, sometimes it's a Swampert as well, and we're able to outpace them to the Hydro Cannon, which is fantastic. And they come back with their Sableye. They're able to farm down, and now I should look to commit to the farm down, right? Because I can't get to 2 moves. I'm going to look to farm down here, and they decide to do the same, and ends up being a double knockout. There's very close battle, honestly. I mean, we ended up tying with 2 shields, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. Moving on to the next one here, we have Swampert into the mirror. So typically what I like to do in this matchup is I like to shield the first one, and I'm going to catch the second one. The reason I shield the first one is because I don't like to switch on the first one, because I'm not really sure of when they'll throw. But typically most people throw the second Hydro Cannon as soon as they get it. In this case, they actually farm up a bunch and they try to catch the Hydro Cannon on their own Walrein as well. So probably an exact same strategy as what we're trying to use right now. But the good thing is, because we swapped simultaneously, my Walrein is actually able to win the CMP against their Walrein. So I should be able to outpace or at least win CMP on the second Earthquake as well, which is really nice, right? Because they're going to have to commit a shield if they want to win this matchup. So Earthquake is actually going to be taking out the Walrein, which is really nice. So back in comes Swampert here. I'm able to get to this Icicle Spear as well, which is really nice. This puts the Swampert into Powder Snow farm down range for the Froslass. And it's fine. They have actually back-to-back Hydro Cannons right now, so I'm going to let this go through. And they're going to fire off the next one right away, so I'm not sure if my Swampert is going to win CMP. So I'm just going to safely come in with my Froslass and soak up this Hydro Cannon here. It's going to do about 50% of Froslass's health, but we can tank it. And I'm going to look to commit to the farm down. But they actually have a Talonflame in the back. It ends up working out perfectly for me. I'm going to be able to come in with my Swampert, go for the Hydro Cannon to get the first shield here. I'm going to do 2 more extra Mud Shots to make sure I throw on good timing. And then the second Hydro Cannon is going to get the second shield as well. And then, yeah, we should be able to get to the next one in time. Right? I can just shield this up, probably just a Flame Charge shield bait, but I'm not going to risk it. And at this point, I'm just going to overfarm as much as I can, basically build up to 2 Hydro Cannons here. And the first Hydro Cannon will be taking out the Talonflame, and the second one should be taking out the Swampert there. So yeah, I mean, honestly, Talonflame backlines can be a little bit of an issue for this team, but then again, it's an ABB line, so you're typically going to preserve Swampert in most situations, and you can definitely deal with it in the back. So moving on to the next one here, we have Swampert into a Lurantis. Definitely a bit of an issue for this team. Again, Lurantis does break the Swampert Walrein core here, and we got hard countered in the lead, and we got hard countered in the safe swap as well. We met with an Obstagoon, which is not an ideal matchup for Walrein. I'm going to fire off as many Icicle Spears as I can to hopefully try and pull a shield in this matchup. That's what I'm looking for, because I don't think we can really win this matchup realistically in any even shielding scenarios, even if they don't get the boost. But anyways, I'm going to go for the Icicle Spear. This should probably get a shield from the Obstagoon as it does that, and we're barely not able to get to the next Weather Ball, but that's okay. I'm going to come in my Swampert here. I'm going to let this go through. Hopefully it's just a Night Slash, but they end up going for the Hyper Beam. Ends up one-shotting my Swampert there. Very unfortunate for me. Back in comes Lurantis. I'm going to have to shield this up because Leaf Blade is going to do quite a bit of damage against Froslass, and also Froslass isn't the tankiest Pokemon out there. I'm going to overfarm as much as I can. Go for the Avalanche just before they can get to a Leaf Blade here. Avalanche actually gets the shield from Lurantis, and at this point, I'm going to just basically let this... I'm actually going to shield this. And then I'm going to try and look to commit to the complete farm down here. We're probably going to have to soak up another Leaf Blade, but that's fine. Froslass with an energy advantage is absolutely devastating, right? And especially with most team comps that have Obstagoon in it, typically they have a Shadow Nidoqueen in the back. If that is the case, it's absolutely beautiful, right? And let's see what they decide to come in. They actually come in with their Froslass. I try to go for the Shadow Ball right away, but they make an incredible catch onto their Obstagoon here. But that's actually good for me because I'm able to farm down and bank a Shadow Ball as well. And then I'm able to get off the Shadow Ball here, and Shadow Ball will absolutely one-shot the Froslass from full health. And yeah, I mean, Froslass coming in super clutch, doing like an almost 1v3 there, probably a 1v2.5. And yeah, that's why it's actually, I mean, it's a forgotten star. I mean, people don't pick it as much these days, but I think it's still got such incredible closing potential, especially in this team comp. Typically, Walrein leads. I'd like to do 1 extra Mud Shot. Because most people typically don't tend to throw on 5, they throw on 6. So I catch the Icicle Spear on my own Walrein here, and they're able to get to an Earthquake before we can because they're obviously 1 ahead on energy. And then I'm going to fire off the Earthquake as soon as I get it. Ideally, I should probably be overfarming with 1 or 2 because just in case they decide to catch. But at this point, we're not going to be able to outpace it. I'm going to just commit to the Earthquake because I don't want to go for the Icicle Spear and end up like having giving them the opportunity to overfarm. I'm sorry, just can't speak today. But anyways, coming in with my Froslass here, and then at this point, I'm just going to try and get to the Shadow Ball before they can get to an Earthquake, because we should be able to outpace them. And Shadow Ball is going to do a lot of damage to Walrein. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite KO though. But I'm going to let this go through here, and it ends up being an Icicle Spear Shield Bait. That is absolutely huge for me, because at this point, this is just going to be another Icicle Spear. I can let this go through as well. And then they have a Trevenant in the back. So I'm immediately going to go for the Icicle Spear Avalanche here. This will be one-shotting the Trevenant if it goes unshielded. But they actually do shield that up. I'm going to switch in my Swampert. We end up losing CMP tie. And I'm going to shield this up. And then, I mean, at this point, I'm assuming that because they had Walrein and Trevenant, that's like they already have 2 solid checks to Swampert. Hopefully, whatever they have in the back should be weak to Swampert, right? So I'm able to get to the second Hydro Cannon as well. Hydro Cannon will be taking out the Trevenant, and hopefully whatever they have in the back is weak to Swampert. Or it should be, hopefully. But no, it's an Altaria in the back, and there's absolutely nothing that I can do here. I mean, Swampert has no play against the Steam Comp. They actually try to catch a Hydro on their Walrein. They fail the catch, but that doesn't really matter, because now there's nothing that Swampert can realistically do against an Altaria, right? I mean, I'm going to need like 4 or 5 Hydro Cannons here, and yeah. Like, I guess they absolutely hate Swampert. I mean, all 3 of the Pokemon do pretty well against Swampert. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that we end up going down there. So, moving on to the next one, here, I'm going up against Speediest Chief, obviously. One of the sort of shoutcasters in the world. So he did a fantastic job. Obviously, a great battler as well. Moving on, I mean, he actually led with Trevenant. Beg your pardon, he led with Nidoqueen, which is a really solid matchup for Swampert. They make a switch into their Obstagoon here. And I'm going to stay in because my backline doesn't have the best matchups against Obstagoon, although we can handle Nidoqueen, right? So I try to CMP tie the next Hydro Cannon, but he actually smartly decides to not throw that energy. So I'm immediately going to switch in my Walrein here and then look to get at this Icicle Spear. Unfortunately, we end up CMP tying once again here, which is not ideal. And honestly, I shouldn't have thrown. It ends up being a cross chop. So I'm going to go for the Icicle Spear right now. Icicle Spear actually gets the shield from Obstagoon, which is really surprising. And and also he decides to bank a bunch of energy on Obstagoon and then switches into his Skarmory here, which is fine. I'm going to try and do as much damage as I can with Icicle Spears here. I'm trying to fire off as many as I can, and hopefully I can switch out in this matchup. But no, Walrein ends up going down, but that's okay. I'm basically going to come in with my Froslass right now. I'm going to look to catch a Sky Attack on my Swampert, but unfortunately it doesn't end up working out. I just end up giving Skarmory a bunch of extra energy, which is not ideal. And this is enough for a Brave Bird, so I do have to respect it. It ends up just being a Sky Attack, and this is probably just a Sky Attack, right? So I'm going to let this go through here. We can tank it. I mean, it still does quite a bit of damage, but I can't afford to give up both shields. And back in comes Nidoqueen, and once again, like I said, any team comp that has Nidoqueen in it, it's going to get, I mean, you're going to win 9 times out of 10, right? Because again, Nidoqueen has absolutely nowhere to go against this team. And he actually comes in with his Skarmory to try and catch, but I'm able to farm down. And then back in comes Obstagoon. Obstagoon has a bunch of energy, but we still have a shield advantage. And also Froslass wins CMP, and Avalanche is more than enough to take out the Obstagoon there. So typically, in most cases, when they have Obstagoon or Scrafty leads, they typically have Nidoqueen in the back, right? It's not always the case, but in most scenarios it is. And at this point, we have a Venusaur in the lead, and they switch into their Galarian Stunfisk, and they probably have a Bastiodon in the back, right? I mean, this is a very common team, the Venusaur double tank line. So at this point, switch advantage is absolutely crucial for me, right? Because I need to make sure that I can align my Swampert on their Bastiodon and my Froslass on their Walrein, Froslass on their Venusaur, I should say. I'm going to shield this up, and then we successfully baited the first time, so now I'm just going to go straight for the Earthquake here. I don't want to bait again because that's too risky. Unfortunately, they end up shielding, and at this point, there's no point giving up 2 shields here because, I mean, and there's no way I can win this matchup, right? I'm going to let this Rock Slide go through here. I'm going to come in with my Swampert and farm up as much as I can and throw the Hydro Cannon one Mud Shot before they can get to the Earthquake here. Hydro Cannon will be taking out the Galarian Stunfisk, and if the Venusaur comes back in, because of the little bit of energy lead I have, I can just stay in and go straight for the Earthquake. The reason I don't want to switch out here is if I switch out, they're going to bring in their Bastiodon and farm my Froslass all the way down. It's almost going to be impossible to recover from that situation. Earthquake one-shots the Venusaur, and as expected, there's a Bastiodon in the back. And Swampert just bringing out the broom, going for a sweep, going for the Earthquake here, absolutely going to one-shot the Bastiodon. And that's going to take the win for us there. So definitely having that little bit of an energy advantage going into that Venusaur matchup was absolutely crucial because that ended up, that allowed us to outpace Venusaur to that Earthquake, right? Moving on to the next one here, we have Swampert into a defense form. Deoxys is a pretty solid matchup actually because they do have to go for Psycho Boost to do any sort of neutral damage. And once they go for Psycho Boost, it's obviously going to lower their attack as well. So I fire off the second Hydro Cannon on what should be a CMP tied to their first Psycho Boost here because they are obviously going to farm up to back-to-back as well. And Psycho Boost, I'm obviously going to... They actually end up baiting with a Rock Slide, which is not ideal for me. So I'm actually going to switch in my Froslass to catch the Psycho Boost here. It still does quite a bit of damage, but that's fine. And they make a switch into their Walrein right now. And this is just going to be an Icicle Spear here because that was too soon to be an Earthquake. There's no reason for me to shield this. And I'm just going to go for the Shadow Ball as soon as I can here. Shadow Ball is obviously going to do quite a bit of damage in this matchup. They actually end up shielding that, which is really nice. So we are at a shield advantage. So there's no point shielding this. I'm just going to let it go through. And then I'm probably going to come in with my own Walrein here. And yeah. I mean, they're basically just in the range of being knocked out by 2 Earthquakes, right? I'm going to let this go through here. It is going to be an Earthquake, does quite a bit of damage in this matchup. I'm going to overfarm a little bit here and then fire off the Earthquake. And then Earthquake obviously is going to do about a little bit more than 50% of Walrein's health there. And then at this point, I'm just going to try and switch in my Swampert. Probably not the best decision, but we actually end up catching an Earthquake, or we end up shielding that, which is fine. And again, farming up a little bit of extra energy and then firing off the Hydro Cannon here. Hydro Cannon actually takes out the Walrein. I'm able to get to another Hydro Cannon as well. Hydro Cannon will be taking out the defense Deoxys as well. Let's see what they have at the back. And they have a Nidoqueen in the back. And we all know what happens when there's a Nidoqueen in the back. Again, Swampert once again bringing out the broom, going for a sweep and showing once again why it's the GOAT of the Go Battle League there. So again, Nidoqueen, like I would say probably 95 out of 100 times you're going to end up winning that game, because even if they have 2 hard checks to whatever your backline is, the fact that Nidoqueen has absolutely no play puts you at a massive advantage, right? Moving on to the next one here, we have a Talonflame on the lead with a Lickitung as the safe swap. Again, we don't really have a hard counter for a Lickitung. So I'm actually going to stay in and look to catch a Body Slam on the Froslass here. It was obviously double resisted, so which is nice. And even though these licks are doing super effective damage, it's actually a pretty decent matchup for Froslass because they have to go all the way up to a Power Whip to do any sort of damage with their charge moves, although those licks are really adding up. I go for the Avalanche, they actually let that go through, which is really nice for me. I'd rather have Lickitung out of here. Unfortunately, Talonflame is going to be able to come in and farm up for quite a bit of energy, but this is going to probably get a shield, right? Because Avalanche is going to do a lot of damage here. Unfortunately, they have a lot of energy right now, so I'm obviously going to come in my Swampert here, and I'm definitely going to shield this up. This is probably going to be a Brave Bird, probably just a Flame Charge bait, but actually ends up being a Brave Bird, so that's actually a good shield. And then I'm going to fire off the Hydro Cannon here, probably going to get the final shield from Talonflame, and if it does, I should be able to get to another Hydro Cannon here, right? So I'm going to shield this up as well. I do have to watch out for a potential catch here. They actually do make a switch into their Sirfetch'd, and I'm just going to go straight for the Earthquake. And Earthquake was absolutely going to one-shot the Sirfetch'd there. Back in comes Talonflame, and we should be able to get to this Hydro Cannon before they can get to another move. And Swampert once again bringing out the Brew and going for a sweep. That's like 3-0 right now for Swampert. The absolute GOAT. Coming in super clutch. I mean, it's fitting. I mean, if you followed my channel for long enough, Swampert has often been my signature Pokemon. I've pretty much used it since the beginning, so it's only fitting that, you know, it plays a big part in getting me to legend here. So moving on to the next one, we have a Shadow Skuntank on the lead. They make a switch into their Swampert. I have my own Swampert here, and I look to catch the Hydro Cannon on my own Swampert. Unfortunately, it doesn't end up working out, so I have to respect the Earthquake, and I do shield the Earthquake here, which is nice. And I'm going to overfarm a little bit. Unfortunately, I overfarmed just a little bit too much there, as you can see, because we ended up CMP tying on the second Earthquake, which is not ideal. Earthquake just does so much damage against Walrein, but I'm able to get to this Icicle Spear here. Icicle Spear, they actually let that go through, and now I should be able to fully farm down, which is nice. And if the Skuntank comes back in, I'm just going to go straight for the Earthquake here. This is either going to one-shot or get that final shield, either which is okay for me. It actually ends up one-shotting, which is nice. I come in with my Swampert, they make a switch into that Trevenant. Unfortunately, I was slightly slow to switch, which is why they're going to be able to outpace me. If I switched simultaneously, I probably would have been able to get to this Avalanche. Unfortunately, they beat me to the Shadow Ball, and now it's all up to Swampert to close this game out. I'm able to get to this Hydro Cannon here to hopefully draw a shield, which we do get a shield, and now I'm able to get to this Earthquake here. Earthquake, even though resisted, should do massive damage against this Trevenant. Near one-shots, it actually ends up being working out perfectly because we get one extra mud shot worth of energy, and we are able to get to a Hydro Cannon against the Skuntank as well. This is going to do massive damage again. Near one-shots, and we're able to mud shot down again. This is again Swampert once again just proving why it is the absolute GOAT. Being able to take out a Trevenant with the shield advantage and also a full health Skuntank in the back, that's absolutely brilliant, right? Just goes to show that no matter what the meta changes are, Swampert continues to be the king there. So the Jellicent leads can always be a little bit tricky. I like to catch the Shadow Ball on the Walrein. This time they end up baiting, but it doesn't matter whether they end up bait or they go straight for the ball. But the reason I switch into my Walrein is because Walrein can definitely tank one Shadow Ball, right? Whereas Shadow Ball would near one shot a Shadow Swampert. So anyways, I'm going for the Earthquake here. Earthquake is debuffed, but still does quite a bit of damage right now. And they actually make a switch into that Froslass. I'm able to get to an Earthquake as well. Now this is again, even though debuffed, it's going to do about 50% of Froslass's health, and they do respect and shield that, which is nice. And they have to go for a move, right? Because these Powder Snows are double resisted. They have to go for a move to KO. And I'm just going to let it go through. It is an Avalanche. And I can basically come in my Swampert and just go straight for the Earthquake here. Because they are at a shield disadvantage, they're probably not going to shield this, probably just think it's just a Hydro, but no. Earthquake just one-shots the Froslass there. Back in comes Jellicent. I do have to respect the Shadow Ball here. I'm going to shield this up, and it is a Shadow Ball, so that's actually a good shield right now. And I'm going to overfarm a little bit, go for the Hydro Cannon here. Hydro Cannon will be doing enough resisted damage to take out the Jellicent from this range. Actually, they do shield that, which is fine, and I'm going to shield this. It's probably a Bubble Beam shield bait, but I can't risk it. It could be a Shadow Ball there, but unfortunately ends up being a Bubble Beam shield bait. They make a switch in that Drifblim. Once again, I'm too slow to switch out, which is why they're able to outpace me here to the Shadow Ball. Again, unfortunately, I'm not able to get to this Avalanche here. Shadow Ball one-shots the Froslass, and once again, it's all up to Swampert to close this out. I'm going for the Hydro Cannon. This Hydro Cannon will not one-shot the Drifblim. Comes close. I'm going to fire off the second one right away because they can get to an Icy Wind. And hopefully now I can outpace the Jellicent to another move, right? I'm able to get, can I get to a Hydro Cannon? I'm barely able to get to this Hydro Cannon here. And once again, as you can see, Swampert coming in clutch. I mean, this thing is just so OP, especially on the lead when you can bank a bunch of energy and switch out and come in later. You can just, it has the potential to sweep so many team comps here. So moving on to the next one here, we have Swampert into a Mandibuzz. Pretty neutral lead this, although, I mean, we do have like 2 ice types in the back, so I definitely like to switch out eventually. I'm going to no shield the first one. They actually go for Foul Play. That does quite a bit of damage against Swampert. I have to make sure I throw on good timing here, and then I'm going for the Hydro Cannon here. Hydro Cannon actually does about 30%, a little over 30 of Mandibuzz's health. I'm able to get to the second Hydro Cannon as well. And I'm going to look to catch the second Foul Play on the Walrein here. Unfortunately, they don't throw right away. They bank a bunch of energy and switch into their own Shadow Swampert, which is definitely not a counter to a Walrein by any stretch of imagination. And they're probably going to look to build up to an Earthquake here, but that's fine. I'm actually going to shield this up because this is definitely going to be an Earthquake. Unfortunately, they end up baiting me with the Hydro Cannon. So it's okay. I mean, even though it ended up being a CMP, that's fine because they're probably going to shield this anyways because they want to get off their Earthquake. And I'm just going to look to shield once and farm the Swampert all the way down. Once again, Walrein with an energy advantage is going to be absolutely devastating towards endgame there. So, which we don't have shield advantage, which is not ideal because, again, Froslass definitely is better off with shield advantage towards endgame, but that's fine. There are specific situations where you're better off giving up shields, and they have a Registeel in the back. I'm going to farm up to 100 energy here and then go for the Earthquake right now. Earthquake actually gets the shield from Registeel, and at this point I'm going to switch into my Froslass to catch the Focus Blast here. I was assuming they were going for Focus Blast, and it is a Focus Blast that is resisted because of the Ghost typing, obviously only single resisted because of the Ice typing as well. And they make a switch into their Mandibuzz. I'm able to get to this Avalanche here, probably on CMP, and it ends up knocking out the Mandibuzz. Back in comes Registeel and decides to concede the match there. So I guess they're trying to kind of like go for the Foul Play and just like one hit KO my Froslass, but luckily we were able to get the Avalanche there. And this set puts us into the 2900s. Moving on to the final few battles before I hit Legend here. This is probably one of the most exciting one of them all. We have Swampert into a Walrein here. Not the ideal lead. They actually end up throwing right away this time. Typically, most people don't throw on 5. So I'm going to actually look to catch the second one on my own Walrein here. So I count up to 5 and I'm able to catch the second one, which is absolutely beautiful. This is double resisted by Walrein in this mirror fight, which is really nice. And we're met with a Defense Deoxys. This is not ideal because once again, Defense Deoxys is definitely a hard counter for Walrein. So we got kind of countered on the lead and countered on the safe swap as well, which is not great. And then I'm able to get to the second Icicle Spear as well. Icicle Spear obviously is not going to get the shield, but the best thing is it ends up being a CMP type, which is really nice for me because it ends up being a Thunderbolt, which is great. And then I'm actually going to come in with my Swampert and farm up a little bit and then throw the Hydro Cannon right away because this Deoxys has a lot of loaded energy. I want to pressure that shield here. They actually let that go through, which is fine as well. And now they actually come in with their Altaria. I'm going to go into my Froslass here and they have the Walrein in the back. And again, this is going to be very tricky because we are at a shield disadvantage right now. I'm just going to go straight for the Shadow Ball here because baiting with Avalanche can be very, very risky in this matchup because if they no shield in Avalanche, that's going to be a good game, right? But anyways, I'm going to let this go through. I mean, this ends up being a huge call because I call the Icicle Spear shield bait, which is massive for me. This is just going to be an Icicle Spear. I can't let this go through. And then once again, I'm overfarming a little bit and going for the Shadow Ball and what should be a CMP tie to the next Icicle Spear here. And my only win con right now is I basically need to farm up an Avalanche and then switch into my Swampert and go straight for the Earthquake, right? Because I need to bank an Avalanche to get rid of the Altaria later. So we bank the Avalanche, switch into the Swampert, go for the Earthquake just before they can get to an Icicle Spear. Earthquake one-shots the Walrein. At this point, we should be able to win this game because, again, no matter what Altaria decides to do, even if they farm down, that doesn't matter because Froslass should win CMP against Altaria. They farm down, but that's absolutely fine. Back in comes Froslass. I'm going for the Avalanche here. And Avalanche is absolutely going to one-shot the Altaria. Even from full health, it would one-shot, but obviously getting off the Hydro Cannon meant that we were guaranteed going to be able to one-shot, right? So that was probably one of the closest battles that I had in this, like, the run that I had all the way up to Legend. Moving on to the next one here, we have Swampert into a Buzzwole. This is obviously the battles that I did before the weekend where we had Buzzwole Raid Day. So, I mean, you don't see too many Buzzwoles in the Great League. Obviously, you'll probably see a lot more now. But Buzzwole can definitely be a little bit of an issue for this team. I'd catch the lunch on my Froslass because Froslass is my only sort of hard counter to a Buzzwole, right? Because both Swampert and especially Walrein don't have great matchups against it. They make a switch into that Bastiodon. It's not ideal for me because we got hard countered in the lead and hard countered in the safe swap. They actually decided to stop tapping, I guess. That's because they probably do not... they want to probably burn out the switch clock so that my Swampert doesn't come in and get too much farm. That's understandable. But anyways, I'm just going to stay in and go for as many Shadow Balls as I can here. And now they decide to farm down. And I'm going to come in with my Swampert. Unfortunately, I do have to give up a shield here, even though Stone Edge would not KO. I definitely want to preserve the health on my Swampert because I need my Swampert healthy to be able to get rid of that Buzzwole, right? They have their Trevenant in the back, and I can't shield the Seed Bomb here. I'm going to let this go through, and I'm going to look to fire off the Icicle Spear. As soon as I get it here, I'm actually going to farm up a little bit, farm up by 1, and then throw the Icicle Spear. Icicle Spear, actually, they let that go through, and we're able to farm down as well, which is really nice. And back in comes Bastiodon. I'm able to get to this Icicle Spear here, and hoping that, hopefully I can Mud Shot down this Bastiodon. And I'm able to get off 2 moves against this Buzzwole here. I'm going to come into my Swampert. I'm going to look to commit to the complete farm down. I have to shield this, unfortunately. It's not optimal shielding up 2 Stone Edges coming from a Bastiodon. But then again, that's my only win con. I'm going for the Hydro Cannon here. Hydro Cannon will be getting the shield from Buzzwole. And I'm able to get to the second Hydro Cannon. Is Swampert going to be able to take out the Buzzwole? No, Hydro Cannon actually doesn't take out the Buzzwole. Buzzwole just standing there and flexing. I mean... says Swampert, you might be the GOAT, but I'm still the king of the ring. And yeah, Buzzwole is a pretty cool Pokemon, especially even in the Ultra League as well. I'll try and get a video out for it in the Ultra League, but yeah, it's just definitely one of the most coolest looking Pokemon in terms of design. Moving on to the next one here, we have a Swampert into an Obstagoon. Typically, like I mentioned earlier as well, most Obstagoons tend to have Nidoqueen in the back. That's not always the case, but that is more often than not, that is the case. But typically in the mirror fight, I like to CMP tie on the second Hydro Cannon here. They actually end up baiting with Obstruct in the first one. This time they actually end up going for the complete farm down, but that's fine by me as well. I'm going to come into my Froslass here, and I'm just going to look to commit to the complete farm down. And it ends up being a Night Slash. I was hoping that would be an Obstruct shield bait, and I do have to respect it, right? I have to shield this, probably an Obstruct here, but yeah, I mean, they're making all the right calls right now. It's not ideal for me also. We cannot really farm down because they're like 2-stage buffed in terms of defense. And now I do shield the Night Slash here. We are down 2 shields, and also we've lost switch advantage. And they have a Hisuian Qwilfish in the back, which is really interesting. I'm going for the Avalanche here. It is a Poison Jab Hisuian Qwilfish. I bank an Avalanche and switch immediately to my Walrein. And I'm able to get to this Icicle Spear before they can get to a move. This is going to force that shield from Hisuian Qwilfish because it's going to KO if it doesn't get the shield. It's probably a Shadow Ball. It's going to do quite a bit of damage in this matchup. It is the Shadow Ball right now. And out comes Nidoqueen. Like I said, most people with Obstagoon tend to have a Poison type at the back, and obviously Nidoqueen is probably the strongest Poison type out there. And they are able to farm down, that's fine. I'm just going to go for the Avalanche right away here because they're very close to a Poison Fang. I know Hisuian Qwilfish doesn't have a move, right? I can go for the Avalanche here, it takes it out. Back in comes Hisuian Qwilfish, and we're able to farm down as well. Once again, Froslass proving to be an incredible closer. Both Swampert and Froslass having that incredible closing potential is really what makes this team click, right? And that was like actually the final battle that actually took us to Legend. We finished with the 3-2 set. There, catching the Zamazenta on a critical catch, and yeah, there we go. We made it to 3009, and yeah, I mean, it was pretty satisfying, honestly. I mean, like I said, this team is very, very solid. It's definitely a team comp that I'm looking forward to using in the future seasons as well. Hopefully, none of them get nerfed, especially Swampert. I hope Swampert continues to stay the same. But yeah, we're going to see a lot of meta changes for the new season. So hopefully I can get a lot more videos out a lot more frequently. I know I haven't been uploading a lot over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, hopefully come the new season, I'm going to be able to get back to a regular upload schedule as well. Anyways, guys, if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. It has been a long video, but anyways, I wanted to feature as many battles as I could in my run to Legend there. So anyways, guys, good luck on your push to Legend. If you still haven't made it yet, hopefully you can make it in the next couple of days' time. And yeah, I'll see you next season.